6 months had passed since the establishment of the research facility at the Deep Archives. What had begun as a desperate search for a way home had evolved into the most comprehensive scientific collaboration in either species' history. The combined human-Kazathan research team had unlocked over 15% of the ancient archives, revealing technological capabilities that redefined their understanding of what was possible. Dr. Kim had become the expedition's primary interface specialist, spending 12-hour days connected to the ancient information systems. Her expertise in quantum mechanics, combined with the archive's sophisticated translation protocols, had allowed her to decode theoretical frameworks that pushed the boundaries of physics itself. The ancients didn't just understand exotic matter, she reported during their weekly progress meeting. They could manufacture it in precisely controlled quantities and configurations. Their industrial capabilities were on a scale that makes our most ambitious engineering projects look like children's toys. The research facility itself had grown into a small city built within the ancient installation. Kazathan engineers had constructed living quarters, laboratories, and manufacturing facilities using a combination of traditional forge-born techniques and newly discovered ancient principles. The hybrid architecture created spaces that were both functional and beautiful, with crystal walls that could be programmed to display information or provide privacy as needed. Dr. Volkov had been working with DeepGuard theoretical specialists to understand the mathematical foundations of ancient technology. The key insight, he explained, is that the ancients treated spacetime not as a fixed background against which events occur, but as a manipulable medium that could be engineered like any other material. And that's what led to their downfall? Dr. Webb asked. Not the concept itself, but the scale of application, Pavel clarified. Single-point manipulations appear to be stable and safe. The problems arise when multiple wormhole generators operate simultaneously across galactic distances. The archives had revealed the full scope of the catastrophe that destroyed ancient civilization. Their interstellar empire had included over 400 star systems connected by a permanent wormhole network that allowed instantaneous travel across thousands of light years. The network had operated successfully for nearly 10,000 years before a cascade failure propagated through the entire system in a matter of days. The mathematics are terrifying, Dr. Kim admitted. Once the cascade began, it became self-sustaining. Every wormhole collapse triggered instabilities in neighboring connections, creating a chain reaction that couldn't be stopped. But we're only talking about a single wormhole back to Earth, Dr. Santos pointed out. Not a galactic network. True, Pavel agreed. Our risk analysis suggests that a single-use wormhole designed specifically for our return journey would have a failure probability of less than 0.3%. Significant, but not catastrophic. Melissa had been reviewing the ethical implications of their research with both human and Kazathan colleagues. The knowledge they were uncovering could revolutionize both civilizations, but it also carried tremendous risks. The decision of whether to attempt a return journey to Earth had implications far beyond their personal desires. We're not just talking about 12 people going home, she pointed out. We're talking about potentially giving both our civilizations access to technology that could fundamentally alter the balance of power in the galaxy. Dr. Rodriguez had been studying the cultural and biological records of the 23 civilizations documented in the archives. The patterns are disturbing, she reported. Every species that developed large-scale space-time manipulation technology experienced significant social and cultural disruption. Even those that avoided technical catastrophes often suffered civilizational collapse due to the social effects of unlimited power. What kind of social effects? Ironbane asked, his deep voice carrying undertones of concern. Abandonment of traditional values, loss of cultural identity, and internal conflicts over resource allocation and territorial expansion, Elena explained. When you can create matter and energy at will, and travel instantly across galactic distances, traditional social structures become meaningless. The Kazathan researchers had been grappling with similar concerns. Forge-born society was built around craftsmanship, community cooperation, and respect for natural systems. The ancient technology offered capabilities that could make their traditional skills obsolete overnight. Our people would need to completely reconstruct their understanding of what it means to be Kazathan, Scholar Brightax observed. Not necessarily a bad thing, but certainly a fundamental change. The same applies to humanity, Dr. Hawthorne added, joining the discussion via quantum communication link from the orbiting station. If we return to Earth with this knowledge, we'll be bringing back technology that could end scarcity, make interstellar colonization trivial, and fundamentally alter human society. Assuming we can return to Earth, Dr. Webb pointed out. The wormhole technology is incredibly complex. Even with the ancient specifications, actually building a functional generator would require resources and expertise that might take decades to develop. Thane Stormhammer had been leading the practical engineering assessment. We have identified the basic requirements, he reported. Exotic matter generation facilities, quantum field manipulation arrays, and computational systems capable of modeling 12-dimensional space-time dynamics. The exotic matter requirements alone would necessitate industrial facilities larger than anything either of our civilizations has ever constructed. How long would it take to build such facilities? Melissa asked. Using current Kazathan manufacturing capabilities, approximately 15 to 20 years, Thane estimated. Assuming we can successfully adapt ancient designs to our existing technology base. 20 years, Dr. Santos repeated quietly. 20 years before we could even attempt to go home. The weight of that timeline settled over the human members of the team. 20 years was longer than some of them had been alive, and represented a significant portion of their adult lives. Families and friends on Earth would age, careers would evolve, and the world they had known would change in ways they couldn't predict. There might be alternatives, Dr. Kim offered. The archives contain references to other human colonies in this region of the galaxy. If we could establish contact with other human civilizations, they might have developed their own wormhole technology. Other human colonies? Melissa asked in surprise. According to the ancient records, humans aren't native to Earth, Sarah explained. We're apparently descendants of a space-faring civilization that established colonies throughout this galactic region approximately 200,000 years ago. The revelation hit the human team like a physical blow. Everything they thought they knew about human origins and their place in the universe was suddenly open to question. The archives contain genetic records that confirmed the relationship, Dr. Rodriguez added, her voice shaky. Humans, Kazathan, and at least 7 other species in this region appear to be related. Possibly descendants of an even more ancient civilization. The predecessors, Ironbane said grimly. Deep-Guard legends speak of the ones who came before the ancients, who seeded the galaxy with life and intelligence. We had thought them myth. If this is true, Pavel said slowly, then the wormhole that brought us here might not have been an accident. We might have been called home. The implications were staggering. If humans were originally from this region of space, then their arrival at Kazathil might represent a return to their species' point of origin rather than exile to an alien world. We need more information, Melissa decided. Dr. Kim, I want you to focus on accessing the predecessor archives. If they exist, they might contain information about original human colonies and current human civilizations in this region. Dr. Rodriguez, coordinate with Kazathan xenobiologists to analyze the genetic data. We need to understand the relationship between our species and determine whether the similarities are natural or artificial. Dr. Volkov, continue working on the wormhole technology, but expand your research to include other interstellar travel methods documented in the archives. We need options. As the team dispersed to their various research assignments, Melissa remained in the main archive chamber, staring up at the crystal formations that held the accumulated knowledge of galactic civilization. The search for a way home had become something much larger, a quest to understand humanity's true origins and place in the cosmos. The weight of that knowledge was both exhilarating and terrifying. They had set out as researchers studying gravitational waves and found themselves at the center of discoveries that could reshape their understanding of life, intelligence, and the nature of the universe itself. But with knowledge came responsibility. The decisions they made in the coming months would affect not just their own lives, but the future of both human and Kazathan civilizations. The ancient archives offered power beyond imagination, but also carried warnings about the dangers of unlimited technological capability. Melissa thought about Earth, about the family and friends she had left behind, about the life she had built before the wormhole changed everything. Going home was still her primary goal, but she was beginning to understand that the person who eventually returned to Earth would be fundamentally different from the one who had left. The deep archives hummed around her, 47,000 years of accumulated wisdom waiting to be unlocked. Somewhere in that vast store of knowledge lay answers to questions humanity had been asking since the beginning of civilization. The question was whether they were wise enough to use those answers responsibly. The breakthrough came during the expedition's 9th month at the Deep Archives. Dr. Kim had been working with the predecessor data cores for weeks, slowly unraveling information systems that were ancient when the ancients were young. The cognitive patterns required to access the deepest archives were unlike anything in human or Kazathan experience, requiring a form of consciousness that could process multidimensional concepts simultaneously. "I think I understand why the interface systems have been so difficult," Sarah announced during their morning briefing. "The predecessors weren't just more technologically advanced, they were more cognitively advanced. Their neural architecture allowed them to perceive and manipulate reality in ways that we can barely comprehend." She activated the main holographic display, which showed a three-dimensional map of the local galactic region spanning thousands of light years. Dozens of star systems were highlighted with different colored indicators, representing various types of installations and colonies. According to the predecessor archives, this entire region of space was terraformed and seeded with life approximately 800,000 years ago. Humans, Kazathan, and 17 other species are all descendants of a single original civilization. The implications were staggering. Everything they thought they knew about evolution, human origins, and their place in the universe was suddenly revealed to be incomplete. "The original human homeworld is approximately 47 light-years from here," Sarah continued, highlighting a star system on the far edge of the display. "The planet is called Terran Prime in the archives, and according to the most recent data available, it still supports a thriving human civilization." "How recent is most recent?" Melissa asked. "Approximately 12,000 years old," Sarah admitted. "The archives haven't been updated since the final predecessor installations went offline." Dr. Volkov studied the galactic map intently. "If Terran Prime still exists, they may have developed their own interstellar travel capabilities. 47 light-years is far, but not impossible to reach with advanced technology." "There's more," Sarah continued. "The archives contain what appear to be active communication protocols for contacting predecessor installations throughout the galaxy. If any of them are still operational, we might be able to establish contact with other human civilizations." Ironbane had been consulting with his Deep Guard colleagues. "We have detected intermittent signals from deep space that match some of the communication frequencies documented in the archives," he reported. "Until now, we assumed they were natural phenomena. Can we establish communication?" Dr. Santos asked, her expertise in communications technology making her the obvious person to coordinate such efforts. "The theoretical framework exists," Sarah replied. "But the power requirements are enormous. We would need to construct communication arrays using ancient technology and exotic matter generation." "How long would that take?" Melissa asked. Thane Stormhammer had been reviewing the technical specifications. "Using our current capabilities, approximately 6 months to construct the basic arrays. However, there are significant risks involved." "What kind of risks?" "Activating predecessor communication systems might alert other civilizations to our presence," Thane explained. "According to the archives, not all spacefaring species in this region have peaceful intentions." The archives had revealed disturbing information about the political situation in the local galactic region. While the predecessors had been benevolent civilization builders, their departure had left a power vacuum that had been filled by less altruistic species. Several aggressive civilizations had established territorial empires based on ancient technology, using their capabilities to dominate and exploit less advanced species. We're talking about potentially announcing our presence to civilizations that might view us as either threats or resources to be exploited, Dr. Rodriguez observed. On the other hand, Pavel pointed out, we might also make contact with human civilizations that could provide assistance or even offer us a new home closer to our origins. The debate continued for hours, with team members weighing the potential benefits against the significant risks. The decision was complicated by the fact that they were no longer just thinking about their own return to Earth, but about the future of both human and Kazathan civilizations. There's another option we should consider, Dr. Kim announced during a break in the discussion. The archives contain complete technical specifications for generating stable, single-use wormholes back to Earth. We could attempt the return journey without establishing galactic communications. What are the success probabilities? Dr. Webb asked. Based on our analysis of ancient mathematics and engineering specifications, approximately 94% chance of successful wormhole generation and transit, Sarah replied. The remaining 6% includes possibilities ranging from wormhole instability to emergence at the wrong location or time. Wrong time? Melissa repeated. Wormholes can potentially connect different temporal coordinates as well as spatial ones, Pavel explained. We could emerge at Earth decades before or after our departure point. Or we could emerge successfully and find that Earth has developed into a civilization we no longer recognize, Dr. Santos added soberly. The weight of decision-making fell heavily on Melissa's shoulders. As expedition leader, she was responsible not just for her team's welfare, but for ensuring that their choices didn't inadvertently harm either human or Kazathan civilizations. I want individual assessments from each team member, she decided. Take the next week to review all available data and consider our options. Then we'll make a collective decision about how to proceed. The following week was a period of intense introspection and analysis. Each team member grappled with questions that had no easy answers. Should they risk everything on a return journey to Earth? Should they attempt to contact other human civilizations? Should they remain at Kazathul and accept their new lives while continuing to study ancient technology? Dr. Rodriguez spent her time analyzing the biological and cultural data about other human civilizations in the archives. The genetic diversity is remarkable, she reported. Different human colonies appear to have adapted to various environmental conditions over hundreds of thousands of years. Some might be almost unrecognizable as human by our standards. Dr. Webb focused on the technical challenges of each option. Building a wormhole generator would require approximately 18 months and carry significant risks, he concluded. But it's achievable with current resources. Constructing galactic communication arrays would take longer but might provide more information before we commit to irreversible actions. Dr. Kim continued her deep exploration of the predecessor archives. I'm finding references to what might be automated guidance systems designed to help lost colonies re-establish contact with their origins, she reported. If these systems are still functional, they might be able to provide assistance with our return journey. Pavel's analysis focused on the mathematical foundations of wormhole technology. The ancient specifications appear to be complete and accurate, he concluded. However, there are aspects of the physics that neither our civilization nor the Kazathan fully understand. We would be implementing technology that works according to principles we haven't entirely mastered. Dr. Santos evaluated the communication possibilities from a different angle. If we can establish contact with other human civilizations, we might learn about safer methods of interstellar travel, she suggested. Some of the archived species appear to have developed alternatives to wormhole technology. At the end of the week, the team assembled in the main archive chamber for their final discussion. Each member presented their analysis and recommendations, contributing to a complex picture of possibilities and risks. The fundamental question, Melissa observed, is whether we prioritize the known, attempting to return to the Earth we left, or the unknown, exploring possibilities that might lead to better outcomes but carry greater uncertainties. There's also the question of our responsibilities to our new allies, Dr. Rodriguez added. The Kazathan have invested significant resources in helping us. Do we owe them continued cooperation in exchange for their assistance? Ironbane, who had been quietly observing the human discussion, finally spoke. "The Deep Guard Council has been deliberating as well," he announced. "We believe that the knowledge gained through cooperation with your team is valuable regardless of your ultimate decision. If you choose to attempt a return to Earth, we will provide whatever assistance we can. If you choose to remain, you will always be welcome as members of Kazathan society." The generosity of the offer was both humbling and moving. The Forge-born had treated them not as stranded refugees but as valued colleagues and potential permanent citizens. "We have one more piece of information to consider," Sarah announced. "I've been analyzing the predecessor guidance protocols, and I believe I've found something significant." She activated the holographic display, showing a complex navigation chart that extended beyond their current galactic region. The archives contain coordinates for what appears to be a predecessor installation in the Sol system, in orbit around Earth itself. The revelation stunned the human team into silence. "A predecessor installation at Earth?" Melissa repeated. "The coordinates place it in the outer solar system, beyond Pluto's orbit," Sarah confirmed. "If it's still operational, it might provide a safer method of returning home and could explain how the wormhole that brought us here was generated." "You're suggesting that our arrival here wasn't an accident?" Dr. Webb asked. "I'm suggesting that it might have been a recall protocol," Sarah replied. "A system designed to bring human colonies back to their origins when certain conditions are met." The possibility reframed everything they thought they understood about their situation. Instead of being victims of circumstance, they might have been participants in a plan that had been in motion for hundreds of thousands of years. "If that's true," Melissa said slowly, "then our choice isn't between staying and leaving. It's between fulfilling our intended purpose or forging our own path." "What do you think our intended purpose is?" Dr. Santos asked. "To bring ancient and predecessor knowledge back to Earth," Melissa replied. "To prepare humanity for reintegration with galactic civilization." The weight of that responsibility was both exciting and terrifying. They had come to the deep archives as researchers seeking a way home and discovered that they might be carriers of knowledge that could transform human civilization. After 3 more days of discussion and analysis, the team reached their decision. "We're going home," Melissa announced. "But we're not going empty-handed. We'll construct the wormhole generator and attempt to return to Earth, carrying with us the accumulated knowledge of 3 civilizations and the tools to help humanity take its place in the galactic community." "And if the return journey fails?" Irebane asked. "Then we'll have given our lives in service of the greatest adventure in human history," Melissa replied. "But I believe we'll succeed. The mathematics support it, the technology exists, and we have the best minds from 2 civilizations working together to make it possible." The decision was made. Now came the hard work of turning possibility into reality. Construction of the wormhole generator took 14 months of intensive effort that brought together the best of human theoretical physics, Kazathan engineering expertise, and ancient technological principles. The device itself was a marvel of hybrid design, crystalline matrices from predecessor archives, exotic matter containment systems based on ancient specifications, and quantum computational arrays that incorporated both human and Kazathan innovations. The generator platform was built within the Deep Archives installation, using the facility's unlimited power supply and advanced manufacturing capabilities. The exotic matter requirements had proven to be the most challenging aspect of the project, requiring the construction of particle acceleration arrays that operated on principles barely understood by either civilization. "The theoretical framework is sound," Dr. Kim reported during their final systems check. "We're generating Type 7 exotic matter in precisely the quantities and configurations specified in the ancient archives. The wormhole should manifest as a stable space-time tunnel with an operational duration of approximately 47 minutes. 47 minutes to transit the wormhole and emerge in Sol system," Dr. Webb confirmed. "Our modified transport vessel should be able to make the journey well within that time frame." The transport ship itself was another example of hybrid design philosophy. Built around a Kazathan hull using materials that could withstand the stresses of wormhole transit, it incorporated human gravitational field manipulation technology and ancient protective systems that would shield the crew from the exotic energies involved in space-time manipulation. Life support systems are rated for 72 hours of independent operation, Dr. Rodriguez reported. Environmental controls, emergency medical facilities, and all necessary supplies for the return journey. The crew manifest had been the subject of intense discussion. The transport could safely carry 8 passengers, but the expedition team included 12 humans and had established deep relationships with their Kazathan colleagues. Leaving people behind was necessary but painful. Dr. Kim, Dr. Volkov, Dr. Rodriguez, and Dr. Webb will accompany me on the return journey, Melissa announced. Dr. Santos, Dr. Hawthorne, and Dr. Martinez will remain here to continue the research collaboration and maintain communication links. The decision had been based on expertise rather than preference. The returning team included the specialists most qualified to help Earth understand and safely implement ancient technology, while the remaining team had the skills necessary to continue the archaeological and scientific work at the deep archives. We'll establish regular communication schedules once the Earth team has had time to set up appropriate receiving equipment, Dr. Santos promised. This separation is temporary, not permanent. The Kazathan had committed to ongoing support for the human research team and continued access to the ancient archives. More significantly, they had agreed to begin preparing their own expedition to establish formal contact with Earth, assuming the wormhole transit proved successful. The Deep Guard Council has approved the construction of a permanent diplomatic vessel, Ironbane announced. If your return to Earth is successful, we will follow within 2 years to establish formal relations between our civilizations. The prospect of Kazathan human diplomatic contact added another layer of significance to their mission. They weren't just returning home with knowledge, they were potentially opening a new chapter in both species' histories. The days leading up to the wormhole activation were filled with final preparations, equipment checks, and emotional farewells. The team had become a family during their time at Kazathul, and separation was difficult despite their hopes for future reunion. Remember that you're carrying the hopes and dreams of 2 civilizations, Scholar Brightaxe told the returning crew. The knowledge you've gained here could benefit both our peoples for generations to come. And remember that you'll always have a home at Kazathul, Thane Storhammer added. Whatever happens on Earth, you are welcome here as honored friends and colleagues. The final systems check took place on the morning of departure. Every component of the wormhole generator had been tested and verified, the transport ship had passed all safety inspections, and the crew had completed their preparation protocols. Exotic matter generation is stable and within acceptable parameters, Dr. Kim reported from the generator control room. Space-time field alignment is optimal. We are ready to initiate wormhole formation. Melissa stood in the transport ship's command center, looking out at the ancient installation that had been their home for over a year. The deep archives had given them far more than just a way to return to Earth. They had discovered their species' origins, formed relationships with an alien civilization, and gained access to knowledge that could transform human understanding of the universe. All stations report ready for departure, Dr. Webb announced from the pilot's station. Communications array is active and recording for transmission to the remaining team, Dr. Rodriguez confirmed. Exotic matter containment is stable and ready for wormhole generation, Dr. Volkov reported. Melissa took a deep breath, thinking about the family and friends she had left behind on Earth, about the life she had built before the original wormhole changed everything. In a few hours, she would either be reunited with her old life or embarking on an entirely new adventure among the stars. Dr. Kim, initiate wormhole formation, she commanded. The generator powered up with a sound like distant thunder, exotic matter streaming through crystalline conduits as space-time began to bend around the focal point. The ancient installation's power systems hummed with increased activity as enormous energies flowed through the wormhole generation matrix. Through the transport ship's viewports, they watched reality tear open. The wormhole manifested as a swirling vortex of twisted light that hurt to look at directly, a tunnel through the fabric of space-time that connected their current location with Earth's solar system across dozens of light years. Wormhole is stable and operational, Dr. Kim announced. Transit window is confirmed at 47 minutes. Transport vessel, you are cleared for departure, came Ironbane's voice over the communications system. May the forge fires light your path home. Dr. Webb engaged the ship's engines, and they moved forward into the impossible tunnel that would carry them home. The journey through the wormhole was unlike anything they had experienced during their original transit. Instead of unconsciousness and displacement, they remained aware as their ship navigated through twisted spacetime where the normal rules of physics held only tentative authority. The passage seemed to take both forever and no time at all. Stars wheeled around them in impossible configurations, and at one point Melissa could have sworn she saw other ships moving through parallel tunnels, perhaps other travelers making their own journeys through the cosmic infrastructure left behind by the predecessors. Then they emerged into familiar space, with Sol burning in the distance and Earth hanging before them like a blue jewel suspended in velvet. Home. After nearly 2 years of exile, they had returned to the solar system that had given birth to human civilization. Earth Control, this is Dr. Melissa Chen aboard the research vessel Deep Explorer, she announced over standard communications frequencies. Kepler Research Station Expedition reporting successful return from extended mission. The response came within minutes, voices tight with excitement and disbelief as ground control confirmed their identity and authorized approach to orbit. Dr. Chen, this is Earth Control. You've been missing for over 18 months. We thought you were lost. We were lost, Melissa replied, looking back at the fading traces of the wormhole that had brought them home. But we found something incredible. As their ship settled into Earth orbit and prepared for the reunion with human civilization, Melissa thought about the Kazathan colleagues they had left behind, about the ancient knowledge they carried, and about the future they were about to help create. They had set out as researchers studying gravitational waves. They were returning as ambassadors from galactic civilization, carrying with them the tools to help humanity take its place among the stars. The real adventure was just beginning. 5 years later, Dr. Melissa Chen stood on the observation deck of the Terra Nova Deep Space Research Station, watching as the first human-built wormhole generator completed its final systems check. The massive installation, built in orbit around Jupiter using a combination of terrestrial engineering and adapted ancient technology, represented the culmination of 5 years of intensive development since her team's return to Earth. The integration of ancient and predecessor knowledge into human technology had proceeded more smoothly than anyone had dared hope. The careful, methodical approach they had advocated, learning to walk before attempting to run, had prevented the catastrophic failures that had doomed previous civilizations to collapse. Generator systems are optimal, reported Dr. Sarah Kim from the control center. Exotic matter production is stable, and space-time field alignments are within all specified parameters. The successful implementation of wormhole technology had required the construction of an entirely new industrial infrastructure. Orbital facilities around Jupiter harvested exotic matter from the gas giant's magnetosphere, while lunar installations manufactured the crystalline matrices necessary for space-time manipulation. The project had employed over 2 million people and represented the largest cooperative effort in human history. But today's test would establish humanity's first permanent wormhole connection to another star system, a link to Kazathil that would allow regular travel and communication between the civilizations. Incoming transmission from Deep Archive Station, announced Dr. James Hawthorne, who had returned to Earth the previous year to help coordinate the diplomatic preparations. The main display activated to show the familiar faces of their Kazathan colleagues. Ironbane, now serving as the first Kazathan ambassador to Earth, spoke from his position aboard the diplomatic vessel that had arrived at Earth 6 months earlier. Terra Nova Station, this is Deep Archives Control. Our generator systems are ready for synchronized activation. The Deep Guard Council sends greetings and hopes for successful establishment of the first permanent interstellar link. The Kazathan diplomatic mission had been a sensation on Earth. The revelation that humanity was not alone in the universe, and that they were related to an alien civilization that welcomed them as long-lost cousins, had fundamentally altered human society. The changes had been largely positive, international cooperation had increased dramatically as humanity recognized the need to present a united front to galactic civilization. Scientific research had received unprecedented funding and support, and cultural exchange programs with the Kazathan had enriched both societies. Deep Archives Control, this is Terra Nova Station, Melissa responded. All systems are ready for synchronized activation. Initiating countdown sequence. The countdown proceeded with mechanical precision, but Melissa felt the emotional weight of the moment. They were about to establish humanity's first permanent link to the broader galactic community, a connection that would transform human civilization forever. Activation in 10 seconds, Dr. Kim announced. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Activate. Both generators fired simultaneously, exotic matter streams tearing holes in spacetime that connected across dozens of light years in an instant. The wormhole that formed was larger and more stable than anything they had previously achieved, a permanent gateway that would remain operational indefinitely. Connection established, Dr. Webb reported from the engineering station. Wormhole is stable and ready for transit. The first vessel through the permanent gateway was a joint human-Kazathan research ship carrying scientists, diplomats, and cultural exchange specialists. The successful transit marked the beginning of regular communication and travel between the civilizations. Over the following months, the benefits of the permanent connection became apparent. Scientific collaboration accelerated as researchers could work directly with their counterparts on either side of the gateway. Cultural exchange programs allowed humans and Kazathan to experience each other's societies firsthand. Most importantly, the shared exploration of ancient and predecessor archives proceeded much more efficiently with teams on both ends of the connection. The latest archaeological reports from the Terran Prime expedition are remarkable, Dr. Rodriguez announced during their monthly review meeting. The expedition to humanity's original homeworld had been one of the first major joint missions using the permanent gateway. Terran Prime is inhabited by a human civilization that has developed along completely different lines from Earth, she continued. They've maintained much closer connections to predecessor technology and have been in contact with other galactic civilizations for centuries. The discovery of Terran Prime had been both thrilling and humbling. Humanity's cousins on the original homeworld had developed into a sophisticated spacefaring civilization with established relationships throughout the local galactic region. Their knowledge of galactic politics, trade networks, and technological developments had proven invaluable in helping Earth prepare for broader contact with alien civilizations. The Terran Prime government has offered to sponsor Earth's application for membership in the Galactic Cooperative, Dr. Santos reported from her position as Earth's first Secretary for Galactic Affairs. They believe we've demonstrated the stability and technological sophistication necessary for full participation in galactic civilization. Membership in the Galactic Cooperative, a loose alliance of over 400 spacefaring civilizations, would open up trade relationships, scientific collaboration, and cultural exchange opportunities beyond anything they had previously imagined. It would also require Earth to accept certain responsibilities for galactic peace and stability. Are we ready for that level of integration? Dr. Webb asked. The cooperative's requirements are reasonable, Maria replied. Non-aggression agreements, technology sharing protocols, and cooperation in maintaining galactic infrastructure. Nothing that conflicts with our values or threatens our autonomy. The transformation of human society over the past 5 years had been remarkable. The discovery of their cosmic heritage had united humanity in ways that previous global challenges had failed to achieve. International conflicts had largely been set aside in favor of cooperative efforts to understand and implement ancient technology. Scientific education had become a global priority, with universities establishing exchange programs not just with other human institutions but with Kazathan academies as well. What about the other human colonies? Melissa asked. Have we established contact with any of the scattered settlements documented in the predecessor archives? 17 so far, Dr. Hawthorne reported. Most are small populations that have maintained minimal technology levels, but 3 have developed significant space-faring capabilities. The Centauri Republic, in particular, has agreed to coordinate their exploration efforts with our own. The gradual reunification of scattered human colonies was proceeding more smoothly than anyone had expected. Rather than competition or conflict, most human settlements had welcomed contact with Earth and the opportunity to share knowledge and resources. "There's something else we need to discuss," Dr. Kim announced, her expression serious. "The Deep Archive analysis has uncovered information about active predecessor installations beyond this galactic region. If the data is accurate, there are still functioning predecessor facilities in other galaxies." The implications were staggering. If predecessor technology and knowledge extended beyond their local galactic region, the possibilities for exploration and discovery were essentially unlimited. "Intergalactic travel?" Dr. Volkov asked, his voice carrying both excitement and concern. "Theoretically possible using advanced wormhole technology," Sarah confirmed. "But the scale of engineering required would dwarf anything we've accomplished so far." "Do we want to pursue that possibility?" Melissa asked. "We've seen what happens to civilizations that expand too quickly." The question embodied the fundamental challenge facing humanity in the new age of galactic civilization. Ancient technology offered virtually unlimited possibilities for exploration and expansion, but history showed that civilizations that grew too fast often collapsed under the weight of their own ambitions. "I think we take it slowly," Melissa decided. "We've built a solid foundation with the Kazathan connection and the broader galactic community. Let's master what we have before reaching for even greater possibilities." As the meeting concluded and her colleagues dispersed to their various projects, Melissa remained on the observation deck, looking out at the permanent wormhole that connected Earth to galactic civilization. The blue-white vortex pulsed with exotic energies that would have been incomprehensible to humanity just 5 years ago, but now represented a routine part of human technology. She thought about the journey that had brought them to this point, from researchers studying gravitational waves to ambassadors of galactic civilization. The wormhole that had originally transported them to Kazathul had seemed like a catastrophe at the time, but it had actually been the beginning of humanity's greatest adventure. Dr. James Hawthorne joined her at the observation window, following her gaze to the swirling gateway that had become humanity's connection to the stars. "Any regrets?" he asked quietly. Melissa considered the question carefully. They had gained so much: knowledge, allies, and opportunities beyond imagination. But they had also taken on enormous responsibilities and committed humanity to a future that would be fundamentally different from anything their ancestors had envisioned. "No regrets," she finally replied. "We've given humanity the chance to take its place among the civilizations of the galaxy. What they do with that opportunity is up to them." "And us?" James asked. "What's next for the original expedition team?" Melissa smiled, thinking about the research proposals that covered her desk, the exploration missions being planned, and the ongoing projects that would keep them busy for decades to come. "We keep exploring," she said simply. "We keep learning. And we keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible." The universe was vast and full of wonders they had barely begun to imagine. The deep archives had taught them that knowledge was infinite, and that every discovery opened new doors to even greater mysteries. Humanity had found its way home to galactic civilization. Now the real adventure could begin.